What's up, guys? Welcome back to Classic Octane. I am Taylor. We are back on the Brown CB550 project today. Name of the game is going to be kind of get this thing hopefully all the way to the point of doing a test ride around the neighborhood. To do that, we're going to need to finish cleaning out our tank. So I'm about to kind of throw some Evaporust, or I actually have some Rust-Oleum rust dissolver, which is basically the same thing that I want to try out. I haven't really used that one very much. So we're going to see how that does. While we have that out, I'm going to go ahead and pull the exhaust flanges off as well because they just are coated in rust. I'd rather clean those up and get them looking nice, which kind of starts the snowball of, well, while we have those off, we can pull the rest of the exhaust off and give that a new coat of high temperature paint and basically try and kind of freshen up all of that. Then we'll move on to the front braking system. I want to just go ahead and pull it apart and completely rebuild it instead of trying to piece together and see if we can get fluid and bleed the kind of current situation we have going on. I'd rather just replace all of the components. So we'll pull the caliper off, replace that seal on the inside, and then completely rebuild that master cylinder like I just showed you guys like 2 weeks ago in a video. Assuming all that goes well, I think we can take it around the block. I am ordering some parts. I did not have a replacement seat cover or another original seat in better condition than this one. So we'll have a seat cover on the way. I did decide on your recommendation to go ahead and replace the rear tire as well. So we're going to be replacing both tires. The rear one, it looks like it's in pretty good shape, but one of you guys called out that if the bike hasn't been on the road in 5 years, this tire has to be a minimum of 5 years old. And with modern rubber, it's going to get pretty hard. So it may look okay, but it's going to be a lot harder than it's supposed to be, which can be somewhat dangerous on a motorcycle. So we're going to go ahead and replace those, but I don't have them yet. I think that's going to be it. Let's get to it. So this is the stuff I'm going to use. Just have it in a little Tupperware container, and then these are the condition of the flanges right now, so you'll get a good before and after of what they look like. I'm gonna go ahead and soak everything. Well, it definitely looks like something's happening. We'll see. I'm gonna go ahead and throw the rest of this inside the gas tank, because like I mentioned before to you guys, it's in pretty darn good shape. Just has a little bit of surface rust, so I think just splashing that stuff around and letting it sit for 20 or 30 minutes will get us back up and running. So I'm moving on to the front braking system. All that stuff soaks. The master cylinder itself is completely dry, but if I pull off this bleeder, some fluid does come out. So instead of letting all of that leak out, I actually want to utilize that braking pressure to our advantage. If you've never tried to pull a piston out of one of these calipers manually, they can be a real pain. But if you have fluid in the system, you can use the hydraulic pressure of the brakes to push that piston out. So I'm actually going to put a little bit of fluid, maybe half of this reservoir or so, and then we're going to pull the caliper off and see if we can't pump the brakes to push that piston out. Obviously we're going to need to put down some kind of drain pan, because when the piston does come out, all the fluid will come out with it. So that's the plan right now. We'll cross our fingers that we at least can have enough bleed to build pressure, push that out. Pull the pad out. Yeah, very rusty in there. That is why we are rebuilding it. So if you were just to try and get some pliers in there or something, pull that piston out, especially when it's this rusty, it's a complete nightmare. But let me set this up and see if I can show you guys using the master cylinder to do it. I don't know if you can see it moving or not. Almost there. I think we ran out of fluid in the master cylinder right at the end, but it should be free enough. Let's see. See, it's that stuck in there even though it just moved. So I'm going to put just a little bit more fluid in the master cylinder. We'll pump it out the rest of the way. And there we go. Braking components are apart. Definitely got some mud looking fluid in here. Yeah, that's not supposed to be in there. So I'm just going to do a lot of cleaning and then rebuild. Like I said, I have a new seal and the rebuild kit right here. Throw you guys in a time lapse since I do have that video. I'll throw the card up now if you want to see the step-by-step on how to do this. For the front braking system all back together and bled, I use the method I always show you guys where I have that big plastic syringe, fill up with brake fluid and push fluid through the bleeder screw, fills up the caliper and then fills all the way up to the top, and you can just top off the fluid, and it's much easier than trying to bleed it the quote-unquote traditional way. I pulled these out of the rust dissolver, and then I ended up hitting them on the wire wheel as well. It turned out pretty well. I actually think, if I'm honest, I think Evapor Rust works a little bit better, but I'm happy with how those turned out. And then I just went to our new parts stash and grabbed 4 new exhaust gaskets, copper rings, so that we can throw the exhaust back on, have it hanging over there, getting nice and dry with a new coat of paint. I did notice when I took it off that it has just a regular like hose clamp that's clamping on this muffler section, which is obviously not going to work long term, so we will need to get a I think it's probably 2.5 inch or close to it exhaust clamp just to make sure that that's on there tight. This will work in the interim, but I will put that on the list of things to grab. Exhaust is all back on. I think it turned out pretty well. These original copper gaskets were shot, so I'm glad that we replaced those. Check out how good the inside of this tank looks now. See if I can get it to focus down in there. And that is damn near perfect. So we're going to go ahead and throw that back on, hook up the fuel lines, put some fuel in it, and then I think we're about ready to fire this thing up and check the transmission and clutch and that kind of stuff. Alright, rear tires lifted up. Went ahead and throw on the pod filters as well. So let's go grab the clutch, put it on first gear. Grab the clutch. A little bit sticky, as I would expect it to be, especially with this thick oil. But it is engaging and disengaging, so should be good to test it out and see how it goes when it warms up. I'm going to spray a little bit of lube on this chain. I will most likely replace it when we have this rear wheel off, just because it does have some rust on it, and I already have a replacement over there anyway. So let's see, I think we are to the point of being able to test ride this thing. Oh, let's look at this tachometer cable. I figured out what the issue was yesterday, so I'm going to show you guys. Definitely should have done this before I put the tank back on, but you can get the little bolt out, pull the cable out, and then when I pulled the cable down, or held it down, it just fell out. So it's broken in here, obviously. So I'm going to pull this off on the tack side as well. Dig around in some of my storage bins, because I'm sure I have an extra tack cable laying around, and we will swap in a new one. New tachometer cable is on. I think we're ready to go. Since I don't have my ventilation system set up, I'm going to do the smart thing and push this outside. Start it up, let it warm up for a few minutes, and then we'll take it around the block and see how she does. Alright, we're going to fire it up and see how everything's doing, and also check and see if our tachometer is working, and I'm sure the headers are going to burn off a little bit from the new paint. Tachometer is not working. Cable's spinning now. Yeah, so our tach cable is spinning, but the tachometer itself, the needle is buried, so it may be something internal. I think I actually might have a spare tachometer around here somewhere. I definitely don't like the way this Mac sounds compared to the Cone Engineering mufflers I've been putting on these. This one's like, I don't know, kind of tinny. Alright, got you guys on helmet cam. Yes, I know, I'm not wearing my full protective gear, but not gonna leave the neighborhood. Some of y'all gonna still yell at me. Let's see, key on. Definitely want to order that replacement for the start button, but nice. No mirrors whatsoever. Easy fix. Alright, let's see how this clutch does. Not bad. First thing I notice, the shifter is a little bit too high, so my foot can like barely get in there. I don't know if you guys can see that or not, but seems to be doing pretty well. Let's go for a brake test. Okay, not bad, not bad. I did check the tire pressures and everything before I left. She seems to be doing pretty well. Man, it's been a long time since I've ridden a stock or stock-ish 550 as far as like handlebars and seat and everything. This thing is cushy. She seems to be very happy. I don't even think we were going to need to do a additional sink. I think the bench sink we did just fine. What do you say we go back to the house and see if we can get this tack fixed? Went ahead and yanked off the tachometer and made myself up a little tachometer tester. Basically just that cable we already had. I just cut a piece off, chucked it up in the drill. You can stick it in here. You can see we're just pegged down here. But in my stash, I was able to find the exact same one. And we put this in here. It works. So we'll just swap in this one and we'll be good to go. This is why you do not throw things away. Hoard everything forever. Replacement tack is on and in place. What do you say we fire this thing up real quick? Make sure it works. Oh yeah. Success. Well, that's going to do it for this video, guys. I hope you enjoyed kind of watching me getting this thing roadworthy. First ride went really well. So our brakes worked great, shift's fine, clutch seems to be working. I do need to adjust that shifter, just the lever itself down a couple of notches so we can actually get our foot above and below it. Nothing really else to report. We got the tack fixed, so now it's just a matter of waiting on parts. So I have to get the tires on the way, the battery on the way, seat cover. I do have a side cover for this side, but unfortunately it is maroon. So we will be in one of the next couple of videos getting this ready to paint, and then I'm going to attempt to find a kind of spray paint that will match very closely to this. So we'll do like a sand, a primer, like wet sand it, color coat, maybe wet sand again, clear. I'm going to try to do as nice of a paint job as we can do with a spray can, just because the Honda colors, I guess because they're metallic, are crazy expensive. I think it's like $150 for 2 cans of aerosol paint. That's the exact color. So I figured it'd be a fun video and good content for you guys to see if we can try and match it with some store-bought paint. So again, thanks for sticking around in the garage with me, and I'll see you guys in the next video.